NASA criticized China's handling of rocket re-entry as debris lands near Maldives. New York CNN Business. NASA has lambasted China for its failure to meet the responsible standards after debris from its out-of-control rocket likely plunged into the Indian Ocean Saturday night. Spacefaring nations must minimize the risk to people and property on Earth of re-entries of space objects and maximize transparency regarding those operations, said NASA Administrator Sam Bill Nelson in a statement released on the space agency's website Sunday. China is failing to meet the responsible standards regarding their space debris, he added. Most of the huge Long March 5B rocket, however, burned up on re-entering the atmosphere, the China-mandated Space Engineering Office said in a post on WeChat before landing just west of the Maldives. It was unclear if any debris had landed on the atoll nation. The U.S. Space Command said the Long March 5B had re-entered the Earth over the Arabian Peninsula. The rocket, which is about 108 feet tall and weighed nearly 40,000 pounds, had launched a piece of the new Chinese space station into orbit on April 29th. After its fuel was spent, the rocket had been left to hurtle through space uncontrolled till Earth's gravity dragged it back to the ground. Generally, the international space community tries to avoid such scenarios. Most rockets used to lift satellites and other objects into space conduct more controlled re-entries that aim for the ocean, or they are left in so-called graveyard orbits that keep them in space for decades or centuries. But the Long March rocket is designed in a way that leaves these big stages in low orbit, said Jonathan McDowell, an astrophysicist at the Astrophysics Center at Harvard University. In this case, it was impossible to be certain exactly when or where the booster would land. The European Space Agency had predicted a risk zone that encompassed any portion of Earth's space between about 41.5 N north and 41.5 south latitude, which included virtually all of the Americas south of New York, all of Africa and Australia, parts of Asia south of Japan and Europe, Spain, Portugal, Italy, and Greece. The threat to populated areas of land was not negligible, but fortunately the vast majority of Earth's space area is consumed by oceans, so the odds of avoiding the catastrophic run-in were slim. The rocket is one of the largest objects in recent memory to strike the Earth after falling out of orbit, following a 2018 incident in which a piece of Chinese space lab broke up over the Pacific Ocean, and the 2020 re-entry of the 18 metric ton Long March 5B rocket. Despite recent efforts to better regulate and mitigate space debris, Earth's orbit is littered with hundreds of thousands of pieces of uncontrolled junk, most of which are smaller than 10 centimeters. Objects are constantly falling out of orbit, though Most pieces burn up in the Earth's atmosphere before having a chance to make an impact on the surface. But parts of a larger object, like the Long March rocket in this instance, can survive re-entry and threaten structures and people on the ground. Norms have been established, McDowell said. There is no international law or rule, nothing specific, but the practice of countries around the world has been, yeah, for the bigger rocket, let's not leave our trash in orbit in this way. CNN's Paul LeBlanc contributed.